Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and I'm going to do a rare comic book industry video. I'm going to talk about IDW publishing, and God, what a missed opportunity, right? IDW is dying, by degrees, slowly, death by 1,000 cuts. I'm very shocked this company is still in business. And it's a shell of what it used to be. Now, disclaimer before I get into the video, and I've talked about this before, I used to actually do some work for IDW. I used to freelance for IDW, mostly on their licensed Disney books. It's been about 10 years since I worked on anything with IDW, and none of the people I worked with are there, and I had no problems with anybody I worked with. I actually thought the people I worked with were pretty cool. I didn't have any problems with them. The only thing I had a problem with was actually getting paid. It would take me several months to get paid, and that was back then. So this company has been having financial problems for a long time, and we've been documenting the decline, a lot of other people documenting the decline of IDW. Now, why I have Skybound's Transformers #1 pulled up is just to show you how badly IDW has failed. They had the license for Transformers and G.I. Joe for a good number of years, and they really couldn't move comics like Skybound has been able to. So it was definitely a them problem. It was an IDW problem. And what they did to Transformers, the franchise was overly convoluted, and they really did stray from the roots, I think, of what made Transformers popular. And they also kind of doubled down on identity politics in a robot comic, which I thought was very, very weird. And they certainly did cater to a Tumblr audience, again, which I thought was very, very weird, given that this was a toy franchise from the 1980s, and the target demographic is, 40, 50-year-old men for the most part. But I digress. They lost the license. They lost the Hasbro license. G.I. Joe, they dropped the ball with that on multiple occasions. And they were lucky if they could sell 3,000 to 5,000 copies, I think, of G.I. Joe. They didn't do very well with it, as I recall. I know the Scarlet comic got canceled pretty quick. But Skybound gets the comic license, the Hasbro license. And as if by magic, it becomes like the best-selling title. And it's so weird to see Transformers and G.I. Joe getting the most buzz of any mainstream comic book title right now. It seems like everybody's talking about the Energon universe. And it was very easy to get right. It's just IDW doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They really don't. So we're going to talk about more woes, more potentially lost licenses. I'm hearing rumblings. I cannot really speak to what licenses, but I'm hearing that they're losing some of their licenses that they have left, and they really don't have many left, so you can kind of figure it out for yourself. Other people hearing that they're going to lose Star Trek pretty soon, and that's one of the last licenses they have. However, Turtles is keeping them in business. That seems to be the only comic they have right now that's selling. So we're going to talk about the comings and goings at IDW and their need for more money. And now they're looking to just scrape by, get a couple of $1 million to keep the lights on. And it's so weird because they were doing games. They were doing tabletop games. And they were doing very well on Kickstarter with tabletop games. And they could get that money if they were still doing games, but they decided to shut that division down, which makes no damn sense. Like, that division was actually profitable, but this is a company that doesn't know what the hell it is or what it's doing. And I don't know why they're still in business. I don't know. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. No woohoos in this video. It's not appropriate. This is the IDW Death Watch. I do these videos every once in a while. Again, just to point out that this company was doing well not that long ago. They really were, and they flew close to the sun, I guess. They got burnt. They Icarus themselves. They were chasing Hollywood deals. They spent a lot of money chasing Hollywood, and it bit them in the ass. And now they're just hanging on by their fingertips. So let's talk about some people leaving. This is coming from The Beat doing a journalism. Apparently their editorial team is going to be shuffled again at IDW. So this is, I guess the original story is Bleeding Cool. Said a rather juicy story ran earlier this week. The Beat can confirm that James S. Rich has left IDW, where he served as editor-in-chief As regular readers may recall, IDW has had much turmoil in the last 12 months. I would say the last 5 years, the last 5 to 6 years. Rich survived a big reorganization at the company, but he's moving on to a new venture. So let the wonderings begin. So he's worked everywhere. He's worked at Tapas, he's worked at Oni, he's worked at DC, Dark Horse. But the beat says we understand there are going to be more executive shufflings coming at IDW in the future as well. Well, yeah, of course. This company doesn't have any damn money. There's no money at IDW. Look at this. This is coming from ICV2. IDW is raising money in private placement. They show the smaller loss in first quarter, probably because they're not selling as much as they used to sell. Again, coming from ICV2, IDW Media Holdings is in the process of a private placement of shares to existing shareholders to raise $2.3 to $3 million after showing a reduced loss in its first fiscal quarter, according to public filings. The private placement backstopped by a commitment from the Jonas family, including their CEO, to provide up to $2 million of the funding is scheduled to close on June 12th. So that would have been 2 days ago. The only specific purpose of the funding identified in the announcement is the support of IDW Publishing's licensing activities, with maintaining reserves, providing working capital, allowing the company to act opportunistically, and general corporate purposes. The other listed the other listed uses of the proceeds. The company lost $237,000 in the first fiscal quarter. A big improvement from the loss of nearly $2 million in the same quarter a year ago. Sales in the IDW publishing segment were down 10% to $5.9 million from $6.6 million in the year ago quarter. The biggest reduction in sales was in direct billing revenue, mostly to Scholastic Book Fairs, which was down $805,000 versus the same quarter a year ago. Direct market sales were down $256,000. Digital sales were down $221,000. Returns and discounts on book sales were up $181,000, and licensing and royalty revenues were down $22,000. Two channels were up. Book market revenue were up $1 million due to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what's keeping them in business right now. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I guess the last number one they did sold 300,000 copies or something. They claim. Sales from the IDW Entertainment segment were only $27,000. IDW lost $4.9 million in the fiscal year ended October 31st. So, what's going on here? Well, my understanding is they're trying to hold on to whatever licenses they have left. They probably have to pay those licensing fees, and they're looking for a couple $1 million to do that. Probably Star Trek is one of them. Possibly Ninja Turtles, because remember, Ninja Turtles now is owned by Paramount, right? It's Nickelodeon owns Ninja Turtles because Eastman and Laird sold the rights, and Paramount is not in a good place right now. They're for sale, and they were going to merge with Skydance, and then apparently that's not happening now. So they got, they're gonna be looking for some money. And they also own Star Trek, right? So we got these Paramount licenses, and I think that is probably coming due, and they want to pay it. But again, $2.3 to $3 million for a company that was once the size of IDW, that is chump change. Like, you could do a crowdfunder and make that much money. So they are really trying to keep the lights on, literally trying to keep the lights on over there. And you've got their editors jumping ship. You got everybody jumping ship who can get out. Anybody who can get out is trying to get out right now. And this is coming from Fandom Pulse. And I cannot confirm this. I mean, I have heard rumblings that some of their licenses are going to get yanked here pretty soon. But this is John Delarose, I think, who said that he believes that they're going to lose their Star Trek license. He said in the IDW front, matters are getting worse. The company laid off 40% of its workforce in the last year, and retailers tell me nothing from the company is selling outside of Ninja Turtles. The Last Ronin in particular, that book by itself with different reprints is propping the company up completely. It's kind of like DC with all the reprints of Watchmen and The Dark Knight. IDW relies on licensed properties, having completely cut its creator-owned division, which makes the company an expensive venture to have to pay for all of its lines. One of these lines is Star Trek, which has been mired with controversy again because of Heather Antos. Yeah, Star Trek, I don't even know what the hell this is. I have no idea what's going on with Star Trek. I don't even read these comics. I have no desire to read these comics. This is basically, from what I can gather, it's Star Trek Discovery on paper, cheap paper, because they can't afford good paper. Wow. Yeah, it's getting worse for IDW. A source came forward to me from Paramount, which holds a license to Star Trek. The source tells me that the executives of Paramount are very displeased with what's going on, whether it's the product or with Heather Montos. I'm not saying this. John Delrose is saying this. It's unclear. However, they note that sales are low and Star Trek has a very expensive license. So is that what they're trying to raise money for, is save the Star Trek license? IDW is said to be losing Star Trek at the end of the year and will not renew it. As of now, it's unclear where Star Trek comics might land publishing-wise. Yeah, they've been doing Star Trek comics for 20 years. I remember DC used to do them a long time ago. I can't see DC Comics wanting to do Star Trek now because they're rivals with Paramount. Warner Brothers is rivals with Paramount. Things aren't as friendly as they used to be. But yeah, you know, it is totally a them problem, because you can have a license like Transformers and G.I. Joe, and you can take it someplace where they actually care. And they actually do the best job they can do, and they actually fully understand their fan base and what the fans are looking for, and you can be the #1 comic. It's very possible that somebody else could get these Star Trek and possibly other licenses, away from IDW, and they could take them elsewhere, and they could make a good Star Trek book. They could make a good Next Generation book, and people would actually buy it, because it would return the series to its roots instead of wherever the hell it is right now. But yeah, this company is done. I've been saying it for like 3 years. I don't know how the hell they stay in business, but the fact that they got to beat the couch cushions for $2 or $3 million to stay afloat, that's not a good sign when individual independent comic and game creators can make that off of one crowdfunder. I'm just saying. I'm going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.